Well, hello everybody. My name is Helena and I'm one of the mathematics lecturers in the TEP program at Charles Darwin University. I'm about to begin the delivery of your first lecture, so the lecture for week 1 for TEP023 Foundation Mathematics. And we're going to begin by having a look at positive integers. Well, what is an integer? Well, an integer is any positive or negative whole number. It includes 0 and it can be viewed or displayed on a number line. And I've got a number line here for you, and in the middle of the number line I have 0. 0 is an integer. On the right hand side of 0 I'm going up in gradations of 1 unit, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and it goes off to the right because you can see the arrow on the line to infinity. So on the right hand side of 0 we have all of the positive numbers. They're the ones we're dealing with in today's lecture. But on the left-hand side of 0 we have the negative numbers. So again, beginning from 0, going backwards now, I have -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, and continuing on towards the left to negative infinity. So we'll use our little infinity sign again. Now we're going to look at a number, and we're going to begin with the number 9,876,543. That's actually a shorthand way of writing the number, because if you think about it, each of those digits in the number has a place value. The 3 is a unit, the 4 represents 40, so it's a 10, the 5 represents 500, so it's 100, and therefore the 6 is in the thousands position, so we can think of adding 6,000. And then we've got 7, and that's 7 tens of thousands. And the 8 is hundreds of thousands. And of course the 9 is a million. So you can see that's a very longhand way of writing the number. We can shorten it to 3 plus 40 plus 500 plus 6,000 plus 70,000 plus 800,000. How many zeros? That's 5 zeros, plus 9 million. So that's a 9 with 6 zeros. Again, it's slightly shorter than writing it out by hand, but the easiest way to write it, of course, is 9,876,543. So every time we actually say the number, we are referring to the place values. So when we come to add whole numbers, and we're going to remember just be looking at positive whole numbers to begin with, positive integers, we need to be aware of what the place values are. So when we add integers, we write the sum so that the place values line up vertically. So there are my place values: thousands, hundreds, tens and units. And then write the numbers so that the digits line up with their correct place values: 876, 1047. Now we begin to add the numbers, and when we begin to add numbers, we begin in the right-hand column, and that's the units column, and then we carry when and if we need to. So let's begin with the first one. That's this one over here. 5,691, add 934. Beginning in the right-hand column, that is the units column, the 1 and the 4 is 5. Now we do the addition for the tens column. 9 plus 3 is 12. The 2 is a 10, and the 1 in the 12 is actually 100, so we carry it into the hundreds column. Now we add up all of the digits in the hundreds column. 9 and 1 is 10, plus 6 is 16. The 6 is 100, but the 1 in front of it is 1,000, so we carry it into the thousands column. Now we can add the digits in the thousands column. 5 plus 1 is 6. Let's have a look at the next one. Beginning in the right-hand units column again. 6 plus 7 is 13. The 3 is a unit, but the 1 is a 10, so carry it into the tens column. Now add all the digits in the tens column. 4 plus 1 is 5, plus 7 is 12. The 2 is a 10. The 1 is 100, so carry it over into the hundreds column. Then add the digits in the hundreds column. 8 plus 1, which is 9. We've got nothing to carry into the thousands column now, because that's just a single digit when we add the digits in the hundreds column. So we just need to put that one in the thousands column. So now moving on to subtracting integers. We write them in exactly the same way, in that we line up the digits in their correct place value columns. So let's have a look at the first one, which is 5,069 subtract 934. All the units lined up in the units column, tens in the tens column, hundreds in the hundreds column, and then we've got the thousands column. So we're subtracting the bottom row number from the top row number. So to begin, we say 9 take away 4 is 5. It's pretty simple. Now moving on to the tens column. 6 take away 3 is 3. Again, fairly simple. Looking at the next column, 0 take away 9. Well, I can't take away 9 from 0, so I'm going to have to, because I've got no hundreds to subtract 9 from, so I'm going to have to borrow 1,000 from the thousands column. So I'm going to write it here. But if I borrow it from the thousands column, I've got to remember that thousands is now 1 less. So now I can say I still have the same 5,000, it's just one of them is now read as 10 hundreds, and I've still got 4,000 in the thousands column. So now what I say is 10 subtract 9 is 1. And in the thousands column, 4, nothing in the thousands column there, so the answer there is 4,135. Okay, we're going to have a look at the second subtraction now, and with this one I've forgotten to write in the subtract sign, so let's pop it in there. And we are now, remember, subtracting the number on the bottom line from the number on the top line. So beginning on the right hand side, once again, 8 subtract 3 is 5. 3 subtract 4, 3, take away 4. Well, we can't do that, so we're going to have to borrow a 100 from the hundreds column. So we can do that. If we borrow 100 from the hundreds column, what we're going to be left here with here is no hundreds in the hundreds column because it's moved over to the tens column. So now we can say 13 subtract 4, and that's 9. Moving on to the hundreds column, 0 subtract 1, again we cannot do that. We can't take 1 away from 0, so we're going to have to borrow 1,000 from the thousands column, bring it over to the hundreds column, but that means we're going to have to reduce the thousands column by 1 and bring over that borrowed 1,000 into the hundreds column. Now we can say 10 subtract 1, and that's 9. And now moving into the thousands column, 4 subtract 1 is, let's write it, 3. So there's our answer. The interesting thing about subtraction is that if we actually add our answer and the number we subtracted from our original number, we get back to the original number. And that's because addition and subtraction are what we call inverse operations. One undoes the other. And we'll have a look at the last one, which is 3,000 subtract 571. So beginning on the right hand side in the units column, 0, take away 1, we can't do it. We're going to have to borrow a 10 from the tens column, so that there isn't one there. So we're going to have to borrow from the hundreds column, but there's nothing there. So we're going to have to borrow back several columns. So let's have a look at how we do that. If we borrow a 10 from the tens column, we can do it, but then this is now going to be 9. And this is also going to be reduced by 1, which is 9. And this will be reduced by 1 as well. So now we can begin. 10 subtract 1 is 9. 9 subtract 7 is 2. 9 subtract 5 is 4, and we're left with 2 subtract 0, which is 2. And of course, remembering that addition and subtraction are inverse operations, if we add our answer and the number we subtracted, we will get back to the original number of 3,000.